I've been here many times. I loved every minute of it. But this year was the sweetest.
Definitions are a reference for standards, and so are the Boston Celtics. Their success through the years has created a sense of pride and tradition, justified by the number of championships they've achieved. But the story of success with the latest championship goes beyond the perfection of passing, rebounding, and shooting, important as those elements may be. The way in which this Celtic team was assembled makes it as unique as the talent itself. Piecing the squad together began in 1978 when the Celtics drafted Larry Bird in his junior year at Indiana State. The wizardry of assembly continued 2 years later when the Celtics traded the numbers 1 and 13 picks in the draft for Robert Parrish and the third choice overall. That selection turned out to be Kevin McHale. The deal speaks for itself. Next, the Celtics went to bat for the services of Danny Ainge. Their fight with baseball's Toronto Blue Jays brought Danny home to Boston. A swap with Phoenix had Rick Roby go to the Suns in exchange for Dennis Johnson. An already strong bench of Wedman and others got stronger with Jerry Seasting. And last summer, before the call went out to complete the picture, Bill Walton picked up the phone and called the Celtics. Although there was good fortune, which allowed Walton to become a free agent, his eventual signing, as with the other players, has been masterfully arranged. Revealing the reason why the Celtics are champions finds a history of leadership which has produced many great teams. But the latest assembly of players, coaches, and administrators may comprise one of the greatest teams of all time in a year that will be remembered as the season of the shooting star. Roll call opening night. The start of a new season in any sport initiates a feeling of optimism. And in the game of basketball, the feeling intensifies since a team can be improved with just a player or two. Coming off a season just 2 wins short of their 16th NBA crown, the Celtics were determined to amend what could have been the year before. But the difference in seasons resulted from more than just determination, as Casey Jones pointed out.
The difference between this team and last year, I would say, would be the health of the team and improvement in the bench.
Going into the opening game, our team had a tremendous amount of anticipation of what our team was all about. We had Bill Walton, we had Jerry Seasting. We really it was the encountering a new season, a new challenge. We all came out knowing that we wanted a world championship.
The Celtics also knew they were starting the season minus the health which was essential to capture a championship. Larry Bird entered the opener against New Jersey ailing in his back and elbow, although his stats of 21 points and 10 assists didn't show it. The Nets took advantage of Bird's situation and 28 Celtic turnovers, with the results delivering New Jersey a 113-109 win in overtime. It wasn't the start Celtics fans expected, but patience would console frustration as the following night, Boston evened its record on the road against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The 105-100 victory set a pace which would soon have the rest of the league scratching their heads in defense. There's no place like home, and in the NBA, there's no arena like the Boston Garden. Draped in tradition and success, the Garden has become a house of champions. But underneath all the history are the teams that make legends a reality. The 1985-86 Celtics may be one of the best teams ever assembled. A contribution to that argument is Bill Walton, whose first night in the Garden as a Celtic somehow seemed destined.
He loved it. I've never seen a man come into a training camp with as much desire to produce as he has shown for the Boston Celtics. And already the people are getting the idea that a lot rests on this guy's shoulders.
But in the home opener against the Bucks, the bulk of work would be accomplished by the passing game. When it wasn't an operation, the Celtics proved they weren't just a passing fancy, as they treated Milwaukee to a sample of their perimeter game, or offered the efforts of the team's front court. On defense, the Celtics were equally effective as they stopped Milwaukee from passing the buck and cashed in with a 117-106 victory. But Bird was forced to sit out the third quarter, increasing concerns about his readiness. With its first of many winning streaks assembled, Boston turns its attention to the Atlanta Hawks and Dominique Wilkins. Interest in the game focused on the concern with the lack of speed in the Celtics' front court, so Boston prepared to answer the critics. While Wilkins performed his show of 32 shots and 40 points, Boston waited patiently for its opportunities as a team, proving a set of hearts beats an ace no matter what game you're playing. The 109-105 win over Atlanta propelled Boston to first place in the Atlantic Division. It would be a position they would never relinquish. Winning ways continued on the road against Washington, adding to what would eventually become an 8-game winning streak. And during the stretch, Bird emerged to answer those who said he wasn't 100% with a performance level that was in a league by itself. The whole team demonstrated their skills of passing and tenacious defense with the support and enthusiasm of all being simply marvelous. Celtic play throughout the month of November was not only being applauded, it was being compared with some of the best ever to occur in the NBA. Finishing the month with a record of 15-2 overall, the Celtics were in firm control of the Atlantic Division. But the manner in which they outplayed their opponents created the most excitement. Added to the praise of Celtic play was the squad's spirit and unselfishness, which was gaining as much attention as any other attribute. Certainly great teams must have great players, but they must also have players that know the need to sacrifice and pass the ball, an ability the Celtics are qualified to write a textbook about.
I think the Celtics passing game is so outstanding because it stems from an unselfish attitude between our players. And I think that's both on the court and off the court.
Camaraderie was becoming more than a factor for winning. It was developing into an existence of personal importance. Winning remained a priority, but in an effort to take advantage of success, enjoying the journey to a championship was recognized as part of the fun. As a result, the mood during practice at Hellenic College sometimes resembled that of schoolyard play. Enjoying success has always been a Celtic treasure, for if winning didn't matter, the Celtics wouldn't want to play. The Celtics picked up where they left off the previous month, but in the end, the month of December would be nothing to remember. Following wins over Milwaukee and New Jersey on the road, Boston returned home to face the Portland Trail Blazers and their only home loss of the season. The 121-103 defeat was also the only game the Celtics would lose by more than 10 points during the regular season. Despite a record of 8-5 during the month, the Celtics never lost more than 2 straight, an accomplishment that would carry throughout the season. Such a statistic should be credited to Boston's aggressive style and desire to win.
Well, the aggressive style that we play really comes from the players. They know that the game in the NBA is played with aggression, and in order to succeed, you have to be aggressive.
There aren't that many players playing in the NBA that they shouldn't all be talented. The distinctive features go beyond that. They go to intelligence. They go to the willingness to, in some cases, subordinate their talent to the talent of others on the team, and their desire to win.
When I see Larry and Danny dive after loose ball or go falling over a table or chair, then I'm excited about that.
Well, you know, when you love somebody, like a parent loves a child, it's tough to be objective. But Danny has always been a very aggressive person. Whatever he did, he always wanted to win. But he's also a very sensitive, loving, and kind child.
Adding to the portrait of pride within the Celtics tradition are the scheduled family events. Taking time out for the holidays, the Celtic family gathered together at the Blades and Boards Club at the Boston Garden. It was the season during the season when the players had a chance to show off their own personal teammates and reveal the true advantages to playing at home. The event also provided time for players to relax among teammates without anticipation or the exhaustion of a game on their minds. But like most events that time of the year, it was the children who had the most fun. The night was also successful in its efforts to release the tensions of the season. Some of the entertainment for the night was scheduled, while most of it was spontaneous. The night concluded with gifts for the children and anticipation of a Christmas Day game with the Knicks for the players, with the latter group receiving the biggest surprise. Come Christmas Day, there was more than presents that came unwrapped. The Celtics got their stockings stuffed with a game out of character, but would later serve as inspiration for preventing something similar ever to occur again. With Boston leading by 25 midway through the third quarter, New York mounted a miracle comeback right off 42nd Street, led by the charge of Patrick Ewing, who finished the game with a career-high 32 points. The Knicks nibbled away at Boston's lead and closed within 10 points at the end of the period. New York continued its efforts and tied the game before the end of regulation. In the first overtime, the team stayed deadlocked as they traded baskets in a similar fashion. But in the second overtime, the Knicks took control of the game and scored a court record 16 points in an overtime period. The results left the Celtics dazed, but the 16 points produced by the Knicks may have served as an omen for the Celtics in their quest for a 16th championship.
The loss to New York on Christmas Day was something that was embarrassing to the players, but yet we have the makeup of personalities on the team that nothing really gets them down for long, and they were able to bounce back and carry on, and you have to do that over an 82-game schedule. You can't have those lows that are going to carry on for days.
The effects of the Christmas Day game were not visibly detected. To change their mood and approach would certainly mean a greater defeat for the Celtics than the one in Madison Square Garden. The Celtics finished 1985 with wins over the Clippers and former teammate Cedric Maxwell, as well as a dramatic win over the Utah Jazz, with both games setting the pace for the post-Christmas surge that would drive the Celtics into the playoffs and the record books. But when practice sessions were completed, a phase of extracurricular competition began.
Yeah, double dribble. Double dribble. He did too.
I didn't. That's all I'm telling you.
I was big crying.
I didn't do it.
It's easy to play when you go like this.
That's a hell of a move. I didn't do it. Because when I went to get it with this hand came out.
Oh, get out of here. You double dribbled the ball.
No, I didn't.
Quick crying. I'll play some defense. I'm good. I stole your brainwave last time. You cheated. I control you. Look at this.
No, I ain't going. Okay.
Here's a bomb. No!
What I can.
Get out of here. You had those hands on like Mile Dado.
And I called foul and you said no and continued to play. You say you can stop me anytime you want anyway, so give me the ball. Give me the ball and prove it.
Offensive foul.
Why didn't you shoot that shot last night?
Thank you very much, Bob.
I stole his brainwave.
There's a standard treat down Causeway Street. It's a guarantee before you take a seat that the Celtic team will perform a feat of a passing game that can't be beat. First, she's the thief who throws the bird, who gets the ball and the word to a man named Ames who's got the reins and makes the most of what he's got by making good on a three-point shot. They'll start to play with DJ, who makes a thing to see sting with Kevin McHale on the trail as the last loop going to the hoop. There's more to see in this passing scene. A dozen players with ability, like Benson, Thurkill, Wedman, Kite, and Big Bill. But before you go and hit the aisles, stick around for Rick Carlisle. It's the same attack in Pontiac, a standard affair in Madison Square, in the Omni, Mecca, Meadowlands, or Summit. But the real mystique is what's unique. It's a standard treat down Causeway Street. Down Causeway Street.
The Celtics had beat the rap of Christmas Day and were riding a winning streak in January, but getting blown out in the first half in Atlanta, the streak appeared to be in jeopardy. The Celts had visions of the infamous Christmas Day game dancing through their heads and decided to mount a comeback of their own, which was inspired by more than just Christmas memories.
Atlanta had been waiting, I guess, about a month to just get us. They'd been on the roll, and little did we know coming in that they had this kind of emotion built up already. They started the first quarter off and just ran us off the court. At halftime, we're down 23. It was not enough. They had a 23-point lead at the time, but they also had to verbalize at halftime. Robert Perry said, they're talking at us, they're slamming us, and then they're talking more. And each time he mentioned a word, it seems like he got a little more angry. And we went back out the second half, and everyone responded.
In the second half, the Celtics shot 64% from the floor and led by Bird's 41 points, won 125-122 in overtime, sending a message to everyone about Celtics pride. The next game was special, not because of any great comeback, but because the Los Angeles Lakers had come back to the Garden for the first time since the championship series last June, and the Celtics were set to prove they were a different team. The 110-95 win over the Lakers, coupled with the comeback in Atlanta, gave the Celtics the confidence they needed to run a record of 12-1 in January and take an inspirational look towards the playoffs. Performances for worthy causes are also part of the Celtic tradition. Managing time for such events is difficult, but taking time out to strut their stuff for charities like the Massachusetts Special Olympics exemplifies a special quality that the Celtics display on and off the court. Riding a 13-game winning streak, the Celtics were hit with a traveling call which would take them to the West Coast to play 7 games in 10 days, all in different cities. The trip was a crucial point in the season for several reasons, including a final matchup with the Lakers. The Celtics were hoping to manage a better-than-break-even record on the swing and then return home to the Garden where they hadn't lost since early December. But planning strategy for on the court seems to be the easy part of being on the road. Preparation for the Lakers was complete, and hours before tip-off, the Celtics took time out to relax. But come game time, it was business as usual, and the Celtics needed little encouragement to get ready for this one. Hot hands in the early going by Scott Wedman and Jerry Seasteen set the stage for locker room chatter to tell the story.
I can't handle it when we move that ball down the other end.
Jerry Seasteen, way knock that jumper, baby.
For the next 24 minutes. Play the next 24 minutes just like we played that second quarter. But that aggression,
that's right.
Good activity on defense.
Don't let Docky put his hands on you, Jerry.
Jabbar's got to run into a crowd. Now, you know, when they get into the second half, they're going to come down. When it gets down to who they're going to go to, it's going to be in his hands. So we've got to be there helping, pushing him back in the middle.
Do that jumper, Scotty.
Stay tough out there. Stay aggressive. Looking good.
They're pushing the ball up. And again, as soon as we score, whatever it is, Worthy is down here already. He's not rebounding. It's got to be a guard to go over and pick him up while we're coming back on defense. And when we pick him up, we just keep him out here, and don't let him get to the basket. But we can't come down and be out here, and he's got the ball. That's an easy 2 points. Then we pick up somebody else. Robert? Sure. Robert?
Yeah, everybody.
Playing Kareem here, trying to get his spot first, and the only move he can get is coming in here. We always guard Rambus, and we got defense on this side. As soon as he makes that, Larry, as soon as he puts that ball on the floor one time, then you're down in here to cut him right off. Just go straight at him with your hands up. That way they can't call a foul. He's not going to get the hook shot off. Now, when Larry goes, Rambus is going down the middle. We got to step here and take the charge. So as soon as he moves here, we automatically move and get in here. The only place he goes is out here with the ball.
The lineup will look more to kick the ball back out to the perimeter shooters. So we stay more at home and we're less doubles down low.
The Celtics completed a sweep of L.A. before a national television audience, providing plenty of satisfaction for the Green, especially since the two teams would never meet in the playoffs. The Celtics would weather the storm on this trip by beating Seattle, Golden State, and Portland in overtime to manage a 4-3 record on the swing. There was some time for relaxation in the climates that allowed for it, but the constant travel from city to city offset such enjoyment. Long road trips are expected in the life of a professional athlete, but they're also a reminder to the drawbacks of such a career. Every night, every player must be prepared to play at peak performance, and over a series of stops, getting ready for every game is a grueling challenge. But it's one the successful teams meet consistently. But the best part of being on the road is getting greeted once you come back home. Before coming home, the Celtics made one more stop in Hartford, where they would finish the season at 3-0. The key to the Celtics' success, no matter where they played, was its bench and health. A combination of assets which was highlighted when Wedman replaced McHale during the winter stretch. Injuries were few during the season, but McHale missed 13 of 14 games during that period. However, he was also allowed ample time to recover from his Achilles injury, an opportunity which is rare in pro sports since hard play is expected, with injuries as the accepted consequence. But injuries are only a fraction of the calculations which coaches study.
To have a great season in the NBA like we did, to win 67 games and only lose 15 during a regular season and win a world championship, you really have to continually make strategic changes and try to stay one step ahead of your opponent. Everyone in this league scouts game to game. There's so much videotape watched that if you just tried to do it the same way, game in and game out, you'd probably run up the wrong tree. We have tried to constantly make subtle changes with a base of operation to work from, and I think that's worked quite successfully for us.
The video era finds the Celtics studying their play on videotape, with the efforts producing substantial results. But consistent winning is built on basics with a hope that strategy develops into reality.
We'll put Larry right up in here, okay? You guys go right up in here. Let's push him right away. Let's push him right out here. Push him right into this thing. We'll come right up and see if we can't seal.
Yeah, but then he sets the pick. The center is down here. Right?
It's with the one time.
Your guy is here. So when he runs the rim when you go off, it's a straight go because, you know, he doesn't see you.
Coming and step over and pick them up. The ball's here and they cut to the middle. This guy right here standing around here too. That's why I went over here. Thanks for stuff in there.
Another road trip found the eyes of Texas on the Celtics, opening the swing in Dallas where Larry Bird won his long-distance shootout a month earlier. This time around, he would produce the same results for real as he threw in an amazing 50 points against the Mavericks. The Texas-style shootouts continued in Houston and San Antonio. In those 3 games, Bird averaged 38 points, including an 11-for-11 shooting performance in the first half against the Spurs. The efforts delivered another Player of the Week award and contributed to a year that gave him his 3rd straight MVP trophy. An accomplishment achieved by only 2 others.
now join Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain as the only players in the 40-year history of the NBA to win the league's MVP award 3 years in a row. And our sincere congratulations to you.
Receiving 3 straight MVP trophies says a lot. It's said a picture's worth 1,000 words. But 1,000 pictures still don't give the final word on Bird. March was magic for the Celtics. Coming down the home stretch of the regular season, the Celtics ran up their longest winning streak of 14 games while en route to breaking the record of consecutive wins at home. The winning ways allowed KC to play his bench, showing the true depth of the Celtics. And as always, the regulars added their usual efforts. Larry Bird and Danny Ainge, who would battle for the league's free throw championship with Golden State's Chris Mullin, battled for a championship of their own. Once back to work, the Celtics completed the season with a record 29 consecutive wins at home, with the best still to come. The Celtics finished the regular season 67-15 overall, just 1 win shy of the best record in franchise history, and only 2 wins short of the best record ever compiled in the NBA. But any celebrating was put on hold until a trophy came back to Boston.
Yes, sir.
The Celtics and everyone else knew the Green had the right numbers to get a 16th championship.
Let's go, man. Championship.
It was now important to prevent any surprises from getting in the way. Before preparations for the playoffs was initiated, the Celtic family gathered once again in an effort to enjoy the candid moments necessary to release tension of professional play. A way of life that demands so much returns moments that are equally rewarding. But the simple times are sometimes the best. The Celtics knew the playoffs would be no picnic. But Sweet 16 was so close, they could taste it. With a regular season record of 40-1 at home, the Celtics opened the playoffs in the Garden against the Chicago Bulls and were set to prove there was life after 40. Chicago had squeezed into the playoff picture, but despite a record which bordered on respectability, the Celtics recognized the Bulls as a legitimate challenge. Chicago proved to be scrappy throughout the season and was one of the 13 teams which had a win over the Celtics in the regular season. Adding to the concern was the fact that Michael Jordan was back. His presence gave Chicago an outside shot at the Celtics, one that Jordan would take several times before the series would be completed. The first game had Jordan assemble an amazing 49 points, some of which still have fans shaking their heads in disbelief. But his performance was not nearly enough to counter the combined efforts of Parrish, Johnson, and McHale, who led the way to a 123-104 Celtics win in the series opener. It was the same old story of Celtics teamwork outdueling a one-man band. But since Jordan gave Chicago their best shot, the Bulls were set to go to him again and again in Game 2. Those lucky enough to be holding tickets for the second contest anticipated a classic performance, but witnessing a piece of history was something they hadn't counted on.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Jordan finished the game with 63 points, surpassing Elgin Baylor's 24-year-old playoff mark of 61. Although Baylor's record was set in regulation and Jordan's in 2 overtimes, the performance was second to none. Almost amazing as Jordan was the fact that Chicago had only 1 turnover in the first half, and the Celtics shot a miserable 38% before intermission. But what seemed even more astonishing was that despite all these bullish figures, the Celtics only trailed by 7 at the half. To start the third quarter, the Celtics attempted some defensive changes, but the Air Jordan show continued. While the Bulls' attention was on Jordan's record-breaking performance, Danny Ainge, who hadn't scored a point until midway through the third quarter, was about to break their backs. Ainge scored 11 points in the final 2.5 minutes of the third period as he brought the Celtics to within 1, 84-83. The Celtics continued to chase the Bulls as the two teams exchanged leads throughout regulation, a first and eventual second overtime. By this point, Garden fans had gotten their money's worth. Now they were about to get what they came for. With less than a minute to play and the score tied at 131, Jerry Seasteen steals Jordan's show, delivering this jumper. The Celtics would add a hoop and take a 135-131 victory and a well-earned rest before tackling Jordan and the Bulls in Game 3. Preparation for the third game had the Celtics set up everything but an anti-ballistic defense system to stop Jordan. Holding the superstar to 19 points, the Celtics cruised to victory with a balanced attack. By midway through the fourth quarter, it was a safe bet the Celtics would advance in the playoffs. Ainge's performance in Game 3 was crucial in shutting down Jordan while adding some offensive fire. His improving efforts, however, would be needed as the victory in Chicago completed only the first step towards Sweet 16. With the Bulls swept out to pasture, the Celtics focused their attention on the Atlanta Hawks, a team many said was the sleeping giant of the playoffs. Although the Celtics swept 6 of 6 from the Hawks during the regular season, none of the games were won by a wider margin than 7 points. Coming off an exhaustive series against the Detroit Pistons, the Hawks had little time to prepare, and that was something Casey Jones and company wanted to take immediate advantage of.
We said yesterday, if they come off on that Hawk pick and roll in here, and this is Whitman coming out, just stay at home with him, Dennis. And they'll come off in here and they'll just try to quickly throw the ball back and get contact at deep post. See if we can't deny that pass out here.
What we want to do is match that kind of hustle for the boards, particularly on the defensive boards.
On dead ball situations, after timeouts, and start quarters, free throws, watch the 2-2-1 press. Everybody gets the ball.
Go, fellas, no spanking today.
The scene for Games 1 and 2 was an intense Boston Garden. The Celtics came out a bit tentative as the Hawks kept it close up to the half in Game 1. But the third quarter was a different story as the Celtics outscored the Hawks 34-17 with Dennis Johnson dishing out 14 assists and all 5 Celtics starters scoring in double figures. Final score 103-91, and Game 2 would be little different. The Celtics and coach Casey Jones realized that this was not the time to let up, and this Celtics team never stops making adjustments, even after a winning effort.
We know what we're doing on the defense, quality assignments, box, and run, and it's going to be the ball game.
Enter the Hawks for Game 2. And enter Larry Bird as he commanded the Celtics, scoring 36 points with 7 assists. The Hawks found themselves quickly in a hole, down 2 games, heading back to the Omni in Atlanta, hoping to even the series. The Celtics' dominance continued in Game 3 as they disposed of the Hawks 111-107, with Bill Walton leading the cheering section. The Hawks played better ball toward the end of Game 3, but it was too little, too late. In Game 4, much to the liking of owner Ted Turner, the Hawks got in tune with a strong home court effort. Unselfish play and a tremendous 37-point performance by Dominique Wilkins gave the Hawks a 106-94 win, stunting the Celtics' chance at a sweep. At this juncture, a new Hawk star was emerging. His name is Spud Webb, a 5'7" guard who won the NBA's annual slam dunk contest at the All-Star game in February. He had 12 assists in Game 4 and truly did fly like a bumblebee. Back in Boston for Game 5, and with the Celtics making the necessary adjustments to contain Bumblebee Webb, they could sense that victory was not far off as Chris Ford, Jimmy Rogers, and Casey Jones prepped their team on the Game 5 strategy.
Now, if Spud comes in, and he's giving us all kinds of grief coming up the middle and whatnot, something that we can do, we'll just talk about it, but it's very simple. Say we're matched up like with... So here's Robert and here's Larry on Willis, and this is DJ and Kevin on that 1-4. We can go right to, if we don't want to give the point Webb a chance to get in there and start working out of that 1-4, we can move right into a trap, okay? And just look at what we have here. Here's Robert. Just step over here, Robert, and play the middle and think 1-3-1. Larry, just move up into the middle, okay? And the 2 wings, rather than going deep, just move right up high. And at any point, we can come right in here and trap him right here. Okay? Trap with a wing. Larry's got the middle, and he just runs the baseline, whichever side whichever side we take him to.
The first 2 quarters, both teams battled back and forth, trying to establish their respective tempos. Larry Bird and Dennis Johnson kept the Celtics alive in the first half as they breezed to an 11-point lead. But what was to follow in the second half had each and every fan in the Garden believing that this team may be better than anyone expected. Celtic dominance took on an even stronger meaning after this display. This was basketball at its finest. Witness a 36-6 scoring run. The Celtics defense closed the door as well, holding the Hawks scoreless during the final 5 minutes of the third quarter. Each and every one of the Celtics deserved credit for this total team effort. The Celtics wrapped up the formality of the fourth quarter and moved on to the next round. Watching, waiting, preparing. Under the skilled guidance of their commander-in-chief, the Celtics focused their energies on avenging a 1983 playoff sweep at the hands of the Milwaukee Bucks. No one needed to tell the Celtics that winning 5 of 5 during the regular season had little significance now.
They want the drive. They want the middle drive, and we're going to play that stuff with containment. And remember, if they open the thing up like this, that means that everybody is given a little bit of ground. And we're going to, when they open the court and people go out, we should go in and start jamming up a little bit because, they're going to be coming up the middle.
Offensively, they count on the team taking quick shots, count on the team making a bad pass when they rotate on defense, pick it off as they did against Philly. We got to come down and show the patience on the offensive end, work and move the ball and catch them with the movement of the ball. But watch how we pass and watch the defense as we make the move.
From the opening tap, the Celtic barrage was led by an active Dennis Johnson and Kevin McHale. And with all cylinders clicking, Larry Bird then joined the assault. As the second quarter began, the Celtic dominance continued, and when Bill Walton got it off to a flying start, Don Nelson wanted to talk things over. Walton would manhandle the Bucks in the second quarter, scoring 9 with 5 rebounds. His intensity set the pace, and the Celtics took a 22-point lead at halftime.
Second quarter, picked up a lot of bad habits, turnovers, letting down defensively on the boards. Don't want to get any bad habits when they play solid the whole 48 minutes. Don't give them anything for the next game to build on.
It is not garbage time. It is time for us to look at up at the clock and see that they're in foul trouble. We got 4 fouls. Let's go to the basket.
After the Celtics coaches went over the importance of keeping the pressure on, the Celtics came out for the third quarter and never looked back. Robert Parrish had a strong third period, scoring 10, as the Celtics cushioned their lead to 25 and went on to a 128-96 win in the all-important Game 1. The Bucks were totally outplayed, something they knew they'd have to change to climb back into it for Game 2. With Sidney Moncrief ailing for the Bucks and with health in the playoffs always a concern, Danny Ainge thought he'd check up on his teammates.
No heart. No heart, man. Any heartbeat. I knew you didn't have your degree.
2 nights later, same place, same time, there was no Celtic letdown in sight despite the return of the hobbled Sidney Moncrief. Kevin McHale, Larry Bird, and Danny Ainge all get into the act as the Green shot 57% from the field, including this 75-foot pass from Dennis Johnson to Larry Bird that goes into the hoop. Blazing out of the locker room at the half, the Celtics quickly up their lead to 11 on 2 3-pointers by Danny Ainge and Larry Bird. The Bucks kept it somewhat interesting as they cut the Celtics lead to 4, Terry Cummings scoring 8 in the final quarter. But Celtic teamwork proved too much for the Bucks. All 5 Celtic starters finished with at least 20 points and finished off the Bucks 122-111. Next stop, the Mecca for Game 3. The Bucks thought they'd call out the band for Game 3. The network joined the action as they and a national TV audience got to see the Celtics for the first time in the Milwaukee series. The Celtics knew that winning Game 3 would almost assure putting the Bucks in a hole that they couldn't climb out.
No more valuables? Go shoot it. Go, fellas.
The Celtics knew that preparation was the key, and prepared they were, only this one wouldn't come as easy as the first 2, as a newly energized Sidney Moncrief poured in 15 points in the first quarter. The Celtics kept it close, with Kevin McHale scoring 13 in the first half. The Bucks came out of the locker room determined to increase that lead, and to make matters worse, Scott Wedman went down with broken ribs, the very last thing the Celtics needed. Scott's contribution helped anchor the team all year, and now they found themselves without him. But as true champions, the Celtics began whittling away the Buck lead like cheap plywood. Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, and Larry Bird helped steal this one away from the Bucks, 111-107. This important victory preserved the Celtics' chance to take the Bucks out in a straight sweep. The duties of a truly skilled trainer are sometimes overlooked in the world of the NBA. Here, Celtic trainer Ray Melchiori performs one of those duties as Rick Carlisle provides the ankle and does the commentary.
Let's see if Ray can get through this tape job without any 20-second timeouts or any full timeouts. Right now, he's doing the stirrups, going from medial to lateral, as is appropriate. And looking good so far. No stops for coffee or donuts. Yeah, looking really good here. Seems like he may be a little nervous doing it in front of the camera. So nervous that he forgot that he's supposed to use 2-inch tape on me instead of 1.5 inches, Ray. How about that?
With ankles wrapped and ready to go, the Celtics knew that Game 4 would be a dogfight, with the Bucks desperately trying to save face with a home court win. But before the day was over, the Celtics would again be heard from in a fashion that everyone would remember. The Celtics would play to a 4-point lead at the half as Danny Ainge provided the spark, scoring 15 of his 25 points. But as the game developed, it was the golden hands of this man that would rule the Celtics' destiny. Larry Bird literally stole away a Milwaukee lead in the fourth quarter, hitting 4 three-pointers in the final 4 minutes. His outstanding performance left no doubts in the minds at the Mecca that he is the best. This victory was especially sweet. The Celtics avenged their 1983 loss to the Bucks and continued their quest for Sweet 16. The locker room told the story better than words ever could.
Oh my God! Okay, no problem, no problem. We have to ride it. Good job. Larry Bird! Oh my God!
Oh yeah. Well, babe, that's like an outstanding record for me, Jam. 3 conference championships. I think you ought to keep me or sign me up for another 4.
After sweeping the Bucks, the Celtics had every reason to feel invincible. But in the back of their minds lingered memories of last year's NBA Finals. To a man, the Celtics said they didn't care who they met this year. After watching the Celtics lose their title to the Lakers a year ago, all of Boston wanted a rematch. But there would be no rematch. Instead, there would be Ralph Sampson and the Houston Rockets. And what a series it would be. While the Houston Rockets were still savoring their victory over the Lakers, the NBA and CBS were already busy preparing for what would be the most widely watched finals in history. Causeway Street was bustling with production personnel, television trucks, and miles upon miles of electrical cables. Inside the Garden, security personnel was doubled as all of Boston awaited the arrival of the suddenly confident Houston Rockets. By 2 o'clock on Monday afternoon, the Garden faithful had packed the Boston Garden. And when Nancy Parrish let loose with a soulful rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner, the stage was set. In the pregame warm-ups, the Celtics seemed loose and relaxed. But as the final seconds ticked away, you knew that this team was ready. Though Houston controlled the tap, a violation gave the ball back to the Celtics. And with Dennis Johnson and Larry Bird leading the way, it was the Celtics who took the early lead. But with Robert Reed hitting 5 straight from the outside, and Akeem Olajuwon grabbing every loose ball underneath, the Rockets came roaring back. With the game teetering out of control, the Celtics needed a Larry Bird special, and they got it. At halftime, Boston led by only 2 points. But in the third period, the Celtic defense forced the Rockets into crucial turnovers. With Houston threatening to close the gap to 1, Robert Parrish's blocked shot led to a breakaway basket and a 5-point lead. Moments later, DJ stripped the ball from Olajuwon, and the Celtics were on their way to a decisive 12-point victory and a 1-0 series lead. If the Celtics had a right to feel confident after Game 1, you couldn't tell it in the post-game locker room. A year ago, they had dropped the crucial second game, and they knew that this was no time to let up. Their wives and children might rest easier for this one day, but when the Celtics took the floor for Game 2, it was all systems go. With a capacity crowd cheering them on, the Celtics jumped out to an 8-2 lead. After a dismal performance in Game 1, Ralph Sampson came alive in Game 2. But this game belonged to Larry Bird. With Bird having his highest scoring game of the series, the Celtics pushed their 10-point halftime lead to 25 by the end of the third period. Olajuwon and Peterson struggled to keep the Rockets within striking distance. But when Bird and Seastein teamed up to give the Celtics their biggest lead of the game, it was time to pack the bags and head to Houston for Game 3. It was a 4-hour plane ride from Boston's Logan Airport to Houston, Texas, and another 40 minutes from the Intercontinental Airport to the summit. When the Celtics finally arrived on Friday afternoon, there were only a handful of reporters waiting for them. But by Saturday, the media crush had more than tripled. And while all of the Celtics patiently answered questions, granted interviews, and tried valiantly to maintain their concentration through it all, it was an absolutely mind-boggling scene to watch. And it must have been a welcome relief when the Rockets finally showed up to face the press. By game time, all of the Celtics knew that Houston was predicting victory. And for the third straight game, it was the Rockets who scored first. The Celtics answered on a fly pattern, DJ to McHale. But this game belonged to Houston. With the Rockets winning the battle underneath and Robert Reed scoring 16 first-half points, it was Houston by 3 at the half. In the third period, the Celtics returned to the kind of basketball that they knew best. But with both Sampson and Olajuwon controlling the offensive boards, the Rockets came from behind to steal a game the Celtics knew they never should have lost. When the Celtics filed into their locker room after the game, they could still hear the cheering of the Houston crowd in the background. To a man, the Celtics knew that they had given this game away. And if the eerie silence of the post-game locker room told a story, it was that these Celtics knew they had no one but themselves to blame. But even in defeat, the Celtics refused to panic. They had lost a game, but they knew if they didn't want their championship dreams to go up in smoke, it was time to come together as champions. And that's just what they did. Though Sampson and Olajuwon came at the Celtics with every move they had, the Celtics came right back. Reed's hot outside shooting kept Houston in front. But even when the Celtics weren't hitting, you could tell that they had the fire. The Houston front court may have scored 45 points in the first half. But in the third period, the Celtic defense got tough. And with Robert Parrish having his best game of the series, the Celtics took a 1-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Rodney McRae's unbelievable baseline move tied it at 95. But with time running down, Bird's three-pointer broke the tie for good. And when DJ missed a driving layup, Bill Walton was there to give the Celtics their biggest win of the year. With a 3-1 series lead, the Celtics had every reason to celebrate. And so did the surprising crowd of loyal fans who greeted them at their hotel. But there was still another game to play in Houston, and even though the Celtics would finally have Scott Wedman back in uniform, you could tell by the expression on Red Auerbach's face that he was concerned, and he had every right to be. In the first period, the Celtics stayed even with the Rockets. But even with Larry Bird hitting 4 straight, it was the Rockets who controlled the tempo. And when the game turned suddenly ugly in the second period, it was Boston that took it on the chin.
Turns around as Seasting is forced to take him in a low post, and he's coming at everybody, Ralph Sampson.
Broken out the benches of Seasting, and they're still going at it, and there is blood. And now Kite has grabbed Sampson from behind.
When Ralph Sampson was ejected from the game, Houston led by only 1 point. But with him out of the lineup, the Rockets took off. When the Celtics returned to Boston, they didn't need to read the papers to know how badly they had been beaten. But if the 15-point loss had made them tense and edgy, it had also made them hungry, and all the more determined to win Game 6 in championship style. In the pregame locker room, the Celtics were quiet but intense. All year long, they had worked towards a common goal, and now, suddenly, it was in danger of slipping away. But as the hours, then minutes, ticked away until the opening tap, you could sense that these Celtics were ready.
Go, gang. This is it. This is it. World championship. Come on. Go, gang. Get it. Come on. Come on. Come on.
And so were the more than 15,000 fans who had packed historic Boston Garden.
It is over. It's 60. Sweet 60. The Boston Celtics are the world champions for the 16th time. And they have shown the world how great a ball club they really are.
How sweet is that? That's right. Go ahead. Kick our tail. See what happens.